Hey, are you having troubles figuring out who you're going to dress up as this Halloween? Because I've got the perfect costume idea for you. Why not dress up as Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors? That's right, because she calls forth the dead in order to keep the BLM movement going real strong. Drea Humphrey here with Rebel News, and if you, someone you know, maybe your place of work, or God forbid your church is still supporting the destructive Marxist Black Lives Matter movement, you should also know that you're also supporting, and in some cases even practicing, a religion when doing so. Now, there is no doubt that the Black Lives Matter movement is a force to be reckoned with. An article by the New York Times suggests that the BLM movement is the largest movement to ever be seen in U.S. history. 4 of their polls indicated that somewhere between 15 million to 26 million people in the United States have participated in demonstrations over the death of George Floyd and others. At the top of the pyramid, the BLM co-founders Patrisse Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Opal Tometi have been listed by Time magazine as 3 of the top 100 most influential people in the world this year, ranking right alongside heavy hitters like President Donald Trump and dictator Xi Jinping. So, how does a movement get so strong like that and its leaders get so powerful, you ask? Well, according to Patrisse Cullors, in an interview found at USC Dornsife, when you are working with people who have been directly impacted by state violence and heavy policing in communities, it is really important that there is a connection to the spirit world. Now, I'm going to dive more into what that spiritual connection is in just a minute, but first, let's get a better understanding for what Cullors' spiritual beliefs are to begin with. In the same USC article, Cullors is reported to have converted from Jehovah's Witness to becoming a Ifa practitioner. Ifa, according to encyclopedia.com, refers to a Yoruba religion that is both the divination practice and the Yoruba god of divination. That divination practice of Ifa consists of client consults taking part in rituals with a diviner. Then a deity, which is a god, apparently manifests, allowing the diviner to then translate a message to explain to the client, prescribing appropriate sacrifices to be carried out. The description of the religion also adds that a number of interpretive works have emerged reflecting on various aspects of Ifa. A common one you likely have heard of before is witchcraft. Now, although Ifa is more prominent in West Africa, it's on the rise in America. In 2019, the Baltimore Sun reported that Ifa is one of an interrelated networks of religions with African roots, including voodoo, Santeria, and Sango baptism, that appear to be gaining popularity in the United States. Similarly, in an article, The Witches of the Baltimore, it reads that young Black women are leaving Christianity and embracing African witchcraft in digital covens, adding that while over the past decade white millennials have embraced witchcraft in droves, now a parallel phenomenon is occurring as modern Black witches are practicing Yoruba-based faiths with a few millennial touches. They build altars to ancestors so they can seek their advice on everything from romance to professional advancement and cast spells using emojis. Do witches really cast spells with emojis now? Man, we are living in the future. And where did I recently hear about altars being built for ancestors? I know, it reminds me of a YouTube video I recently watched that shows Patrisse Cullors guiding people to watch her stand inside of a nest-like altar layered with her brother Monty's used clothing while she acted out a poem she wrote to Los Angeles called A Prayer to Iyami. Now, by the way, Iyami is an ancestral primordial and cosmic mother figure, according to traditional healer priestess Ayil Kumari. But just because self-proclaimed Marxist Patrisse Cullors may also be a practicing witch doesn't mean that Black Lives Matter supporters are also taking part in Ifa rituals and witchcraft, does it? Well, keep watching for a couple more minutes and you can be the judge yourself. During an interview aired by Fowler Museum of UCLA, co-founder of Black Lives Matter Patrisse Cullors and Dr. Melina Abdullah, the co-founder for Black Lives Matter Los Angeles, discusses Cullors' art and how the work of the Black Lives Matter movement is both ancestral and divine and also involves calling upon dead spirits. You may have seen Black Lives Matter protest signs that say their names, or even heard protesters being summoned to chant the names of the deceased who were killed by police officers, just like in this video.
21 years old. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name.
Well, according to Dr. Abdullah, that chanting done by all of those people is in fact a spiritual practice. Take a look at this.
You know, those whose names we speak and those on whose behalf we struggle because their bodies have been stolen. I think what you're saying is a difference between white dominated approaches to those who they consider dead and us, is that we do feel like when we say the names, right? So we speak their names, we say her name, say their names, we do that all the time, that you kind of invoke that spirit and then those spirits actually become present with you.
Did you hear that? All of those people that you just saw chanting Kendra James are engaging in a practice to evoke Kendra's spirit from the dead. Oh, and that doesn't just stop there. Ever seen the hashtag Black Lives Matter before? Maybe you even typed it out yourself before realizing how toxic the Black Lives Matter movement was going to be. Well, listen to Patrisse Cullors explain what that hashtag really means, guys.
Hashtags are, for us, are way more than a hashtag. It is literally almost resurrecting a spirit so they can work through us to get the work that we need to get done.
Now, she used the word literally when saying that the hashtag basically evokes dead spirits. And here is an example of the overlap of the Ifa rituals engaging with deities in Black Lives Matter ceremonies. Dr. Abdullah discusses it right here.
You know, I never abandoned who I was spiritually, but it took almost a year for me to realize that when we come out into the streets and we pray, you know, the first thing that we do when we hear of a murder is we come out, we pray, we pour a libation, we build with the community where the person's life was stolen. And it took almost a year for me to realize that this movement is much more than a racial and social justice movement. At its core, it's a spiritual movement because we're literally standing on spilled blood.
They pour libations for the dead. In case you don't know what a libation is, it's pouring out of wine or other liquids to honor a deity, a god. Now, they're not just making offerings to God and calling upon dead spirits. They are saying that the spirits are answering their calls and actually showing up. Guys, they're laughing with the spirits. You heard it yourself. I mean, this is some deep stuff.
We become very intimate with the spirits that we call on regularly, right? Like each of them seems to have a different presence and personality. You know, I laugh a lot with Waukesha, you know, and I didn't meet her in her body, right? Yeah. I met her through this work.
Now, don't you think it's interesting that we haven't heard a peep of this from mainstream media? Like, it's not like they're avoiding this type of spiritual talk altogether. If you guys recall, the doctor named Dr. Stella Emanuel, she was a frontline doctor who publicly came out. She was alongside other frontline doctors, and she shared her medical opinion that hydroxychloroquine is effective for COVID-19. Now, Global News had no problem mocking President Trump for calling her a respected doctor because she reportedly believes in demon sperm. Yet, here you have Black Lives Matter co-founders saying they chill with the dead. And not a word from Global. No mocking of the co-founders, no mocking of their supporters. Silence. Now, don't get me wrong, I support freedom of religion. If those supporting Black Lives Matter want to engage in witchcraft and befriending dead spirits, then that's their choice. Or is it? Do you think that the Black Lives Matter supporters have any clue at all what they are actually standing for? And should businesses and even churches be promoting what could arguably be a Black Lives Matter religion? Drea Humphrey for Rebel News. At Rebel News, we are not afraid to give you the other side of the story, just like you watched in today's report. Now, we also don't take $1 from the liberals' media bailout. So if you would like to help us in our independent journalism, please head to helprebelnews.com. We appreciate your support.